You got your mama's sunshine, you got your daddy's rain. You're like a piece of heaven in a hurricane, and it's bubbling over.
Hey guys, welcome to this week's podcast. This is Off the Mountain. I'm Josh. This is Pastor Tom, Pastor Ron Bietti. This is Vince Sierra.
Hey.
And we got Tyler and Cabin behind the camera. I want to acknowledge those guys. They work very hard. You never see them, but they're amazing. And we have a big team that supports us off the mountain, but we're on the mountain today. So we want to talk to you guys today about opportunities. Life does have a lot of opportunities, offers us a lot of opportunities. What we do with those opportunities kind of defines, our lives in a lot of ways. And so we want to talk about that. Before we get to that, though, we had some questions come in about health based on a couple of the last podcasts that we've had. Again, if you haven't listened to those podcasts, go back and listen to them. We cover many different topics, but ultimately, what our goal, at least what my goal is to get you guys thinking, get you guys researching on your own, get you guys to realize that, life may offer you, lemons, right? This is the cliche thing, but you can make lemonade. You really can. And I know I hate saying cliche things, but lately I've been thinking about it. A lot of those cliches, they became cliches because there's truth behind them.
It's very true.
Truth.
Right?
Very true. And again, Josh, we've said it before, but we're not doctors. But we are people that have spent a lot of time in education, getting educated.
I think all of us bring something literally to the table. And I think that, we've all had certain responsibilities. We've had certain interests in certain, there's different types of education, right?
Yes.
There's the education that we're offered in school, and that's great. But then there's also the type of education that you're interested in. And we have educated ourselves in a lot of things that we are interested in. We are all people that work at a church. So that's a disclosure. We believe in God, but we want to make sure that this is something that is a resource for anybody, no matter your beliefs, no matter who you are. And I know a lot of people say that, but we really do mean it. We really do love you, even if you don't agree with us. That's okay. And so we want to make sure that we are offering something of substance. And so let's get into these health questions real quick. Who has the question?
The first question, I think Tom got the first question.
Hey, this comes to me all the time, and it comes to me in different forms. People hear this, they'll ask me, so when they'll form it in what is the easy way? What can I do to achieve my goal without working hard? And the answer is you can't.
Right.
And then of course they'll come up with the cheats. Everyone will look at the sport that I did, bodybuilding, and say, well, what about steroids? What about supplements? And I'm going, yeah, but that's not lasting. Those work from a physical effect, but we're really trying to make ourselves better health-wise. And if the benefit is that I look better because of that, then that's what you should go for. Most everything else won't matter in the end.
It's funny, Tom. I think about supplements, and you go into over here in the West Coast, we have the vitamin store, GNC, a couple of these places, and they're great. You go in and you can get what you need. But have you ever seen companies pop up and then they just leave? Oh, yeah. You never see them again. And you wonder, what was their purpose in creating what they created? Is it just to make a quick buck? Or is it a company that really is in it for the long haul?
But the same way with diets. They come and they get real popular and somebody shoots them down, a new one comes.
Well, it's funny.
And then they rotate. They come back around again.
There's companies that you do see that stick around for a long time. And I tend to trust those companies more because I feel like they're in it for the long haul. They're really, there to offer you what you actually
let's
need.
talk about the fast fix, Tom. What's some of the fads going on out there now?
Well, one of the fads going on right now, there's a new drug out there, and it's called Ozempic. And it's for diabetes, but there's been a kind of a new benefit to it because people who are obese can take it and lose weight. But other people can take it and lose weight too. There's actually a thing called Ozempic face because you will lose weight quickly and that fat is gone. And all of a sudden your face sags. Wow. And so when people are out there and they're saying, is there a quick fix? Obviously there are, but do you really want them? And is that quick fix going to help you? And is it going to last?
What's the downside to it?
Well, there's a lot of different, if you listen to the commercial, they'll talk about liver disease. They'll talk about, we all know when you hear those commercials and they talk real fast of the
Yeah.
the parts
Yeah,
of-
Side
the side
effects.
effects. Yeah.
the side effects, you're like, holy smokes, why do I want that? Now, if I had diabetes, I might buy in for it, but if I'm just using it to lose weight,
yeah.
you would want to stay away.
And
from it.
I'm not totally against some fast fixes, but if you use something like that and you read all of the side effects and you were in, I'm not for it at all. Don't read me wrong. But if you have some kind of fast fix that isn't going to hurt you for a small amount of time, then maybe you get the weight off and then you just have a lifestyle change and you retain it without
Well, that's
staying on
the-
whatever it is that you're taking.
That would be the idea of medication in general. Is it should be temporary to
Temporary.
get you into a better place,
Well-
and then you change your lifestyle.
Well, let's
right?
talk about the gastric bypass surgery that was real
Right,
popular 20,
right,
25
right.
years ago.
Yes.
You know, if you talk about people back then that, that maybe got the band or something, and that's your decision if you did it. I had friends that did it, and they did lose weight, sometimes 100, 200 pounds. But I can tell you, after about a decade later,
They're right back.
yeah, it's
Why
back.
is that?
Their
It's
body
because-
has a set rate.
Well, and
set
it's because
place.
it's habits.
Habits,
Right.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you'll go through it. Your stomach can't hold the
Right.
quantity of food, so you're less calories. But I think it's going to go back to, if it's worth it. What is this whole saying? It's hard because it's worth it.
Yeah.
Have you ever watched one of those commercials? You're like late at night, typically, and there's like the infomercials, and it's like, if you just do this, you'll lose all this weight, and you're like, and you start, and there's something inside you that knows that's not right. And I think it's like the intuition of knowing like nothing is easy. Like it can't be that easy. There's
You know
something
what's
inside of
funny?
us that says there's no
We're all
shortcuts.
No. You're
Yeah.
right. Like you know that it's a gimmick a little bit,
Right,
right?
right.
But sometimes I will justify the gimmick by saying, "But if I spend the money, it's going to force me to do all the other things I
Do the
need to
other
do."
things you need to
And
do,
how
right.
dumb is that?
Yeah,
Like,
right, yeah.
Why not just do it?
Pastor remembers this. A lot of diets came up with drink 8-ounce glasses of water.
Mm.
Well, water itself is going to flush.
Sure.
And you're going to see a reduction
Sure.
just by the health benefits of drinking water. So it wasn't the pill that you were taking with it. It was
Because
the
all
fact
the water.
I
brought-
love your simple idea of weight loss. What is it?
reduce calories.
Yeah, that's it.
Well,
Like,
if you eat
that's what he always says.
if you eat 2 Big Macs a day, eat
Well,
one.
You always say you always bring it down to the fact that you just have to burn more than you
Yeah.
consume.
That's exactly it. But I want to say
Right?
something to our audience out there, especially maybe the older people or young people too. If you're taking pharmaceutical drugs, which many people are for any certain cause or reason, drink a lot of water. You got to flush that stuff through you.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of that stuff can cause damage if you're not drinking a lot of water.
Yeah.
One of the big benefits I've started doing, and I've known it forever, but the benefit of walking. I walk a mile a day, and I do it because I have a new dog, and I'm in a new challenge for St. Jude's Hospital, 50-mile in the month of in this month of February. So I'm doing it, and I love it.
That's awesome.
I mean, I'm walking, and so I'm reducing my cardio at the gym, but I'm out in the air.
Well, Tom,
now.
don't you remember when we went to Israel? Don't you remember seeing the ruins and they were like, "Oh, that was the gym right there where they worked out."
yeah, yeah.
No, because they didn't have that because they always
Walked
walked.
everywhere.
They had they naturally.
Let me give
exercised.
you an acronym, GAS. Everybody remember the word GAS. If you want to lose weight, in my mind, the G stands, drink a lot of green tea. This is really good for you. And I said on one of the broadcasts, they're just now discovering all of the anti-cancer effects that green tea has. Green tea, do aerobic exercise, that's the A, and then a sugarless diet, as much as you can. Gas, green tea, aerobic exercise, and sugarless diet. And you'll lose weight. I'm guaranteeing you'll lose weight. Aerobics, Tom, you don't have to do a lot. I found out with my own body type that if I would do some aerobic, like even walk fast, 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes at night, and watch my diet, I can throw off pounds.
Yes.
I can lose weight.
Well, as we left your house today, I looked at your wife, Debbie Vietti, and today, watching your daughter, Romy Vietti, she's going to get some aerobic exercise in today.
Yeah.
She doesn't need it maybe,
Yeah.
but she's going to be walking and chasing Romy around the house.
And-
But that's a form of exercise. A lot of moms
Right.
sometimes will, through activity with their kids, just participating with them. What a healthy activity to be in.
Well,
But
and-
going out to the park with your kid, throwing the frisbee. Vince, you're doing a lot of swimming now,
And
right?
I love the
Right,
fact.
yeah.
I love the fact that that you're not espousing that you have to go to the gym, you have to build
don't.
big muscles. That could be a detriment.
The
too.
walking
does.
adds up. I try to walk 30, 40 minutes in the morning. Sometimes I don't have time. But again, I said, if I go shopping, I'll park way out
Mm-hmm.
and I'll lap the store 2 or 3 times. By the end of the day, I have a lot of walking in
You,
place.
you said something about aerobic exercise, and then the data is also out that strength training is really a good way to lose weight. I had a little story, like little quick snippet back in the day when I was in shape. Okay, this is back when I was in shape. I stopped lifting weights, and then I started swimming a lot to do a little triathlon thing. And this was like 4 or 5 months, maybe 6 months. And when I went back into the gym, I had lost 0 strength. And so there are actually exercises that you can do that
Yes.
are aerobic and strength.
Well, as Pastor gets into age groups earlier than I do, he always tells me I'm an experience. So I'm
what you should expect.
Yeah, what you should expect. And I'm 65, and so the new data for people that are elderly like I am, 65, is that you should do more anaerobic movements than aerobic. Anaerobic is strength training because that's when the osteoporosis sets in. That's the thing. And you need to have your muscles and your bones under stimulation to create that. And so they're saying if you're older, keep strength training in because it's very detrimental. I mean, very good for you, where if you just go to aerobics.
But I would agree with you, Tom. But I would also add that you don't have to lift the most weight in the room. You don't have to,
No.
because that's when you get injured.
Tom and I have
right?
changed. Tom has trained me. I'm older now, and we used to use heavier weights.
Mm-hmm.
And Tom says, use lighter weight and do about 15 reps or 16.
just as hard. Yeah.
And that's working for me
Well,
in my
I have
older
some,
age.
I have some joint. I was telling you I had some joint issues, and I started lifting really light weights, and I'm feeling way better now.
Well, what it is too is you lift as heavy as you can.
Still-
So we just can't lift as
Can't
heavy.
lift as much.
So we're still pushing weight with the
Yes.
stimulation.
Yes.
But the idea is that you keep a little more muscle on, so when you fall over
Well, and
or
then-
tip over,
and
you may
then-
not break a hip.
Tyler and I, the guy that's behind the camera, we talked about how maybe your face might look a little fat. We're just gonna grow our beards out really thick and just hide it too. That's also a good opportunity, to just.
Well, let me go to question number 2, and then we're going to get on to our subject for the day.
Sure.
But someone had written me and asked me about the carnivore diet, and it's really popular today. And again, please don't stone me. I'm not for that diet at all.
What will you explain quickly what it is? Because not everybody might know what it is.
Well,
I'm not sure.
Basically, Tom, and correct me, it's eating a lot of meat,
It's-
cheese, and animal-based protein.
It's basically eating meat. And,
Isn't it the same diet we used to do called all-protein diet?
It is.
I don't know if they even have cheese. Don't they just do meat?
No,
Is it
you,
just-
you could do cheeses. Yes,
Okay,
you can dairy products. What it is kind of a more fat type diet,
So it's like,
but it is an all protein diet.
Yeah, it's all protein diet.
It's just called
and
carnivore.
again, please don't get mad at me. I know we have different opinions out there today. I don't like it because I don't think it's healthy. But I had spoken with this person, and I said, if you want to lose weight, you will lose weight with this. It'll produce, but at what cost? And so anyway, I don't want to get into diets and get you mad at me.
Is this like Atkins?
Well, what it is, it kind of is
Similar.
too, because it's reducing carbs.
Yes.
You're not eating carbs. And so, but it is a temporary. So, Pastor, I did do the carnivore because I wanted to experience it
Right.
to be able to tell people what I felt about it. So I did it about 2 months, and I had more energy because Joe Rogan always brags on it, get more energy, but I couldn't maintain it. And I think it's a hard diet to try to maintain. So I'm back now to what you and
Was
I
it
believe,
because
Pastor.
of hunger, strength, or what was
You
it?
know, as you're eating it, you better be prepared to just keep a lot of meat around, and you better be prepared for your budget to increase.
Yeah,
My wife
expensive
looked at
diet,
me and
yeah.
she's like, "Really?" Because we're gonna. I follow what Pastor
T-bone
said.
steaks.
Well, no, you're
T-bone
eating
steaks.
organic, grass-fed
Wow. Yes,
for sure.
T-bone steak. So when you're going to try to shop for that, it really blows your budget. And so what I found though is that I could come back in the middle and say, I used it. I liked it for the period I did it. I can't sustain it.
Yeah,
So I'm not going to use it for a quick fix.
And I was on it also, but it was back when we called the protein diet. And did it throw off weight? Oh my goodness, it really did. And I got more muscular, everything. But again, I'm looking at long term.
Yes.
Now, I said to this person, I said, here's the deal. If you want to go on this diet, I would really encourage you to go to the health food store and get some pH strips. And I don't know this for a fact, but I would think that most people on this diet are going to be very acidic. And you do not want to be acidic. These pH strips, I get them all the time. You test the alkaline and the acid in your body through your saliva and your urine. And what you want to do is you want to maintain a healthy balance between acidity and alkalinity. Now, if you get acidosis, which is too much acid, all kinds of health problems can occur. I mean, we're talking about some serious stuff. In fact, one dietitian that was pretty famous some time ago said, and I don't have any facts to back this up, but he said, if you're acidic and you stay acidic for lots of years, you will get cancer, he said. He said it's just a matter of time before you get cancer. Cancer thrives in that body. And so I told this person, get your pH strips and take all your buddies on the carnivore diet and let them look at that. And so again, I know a lot of you are going to get mad at me. If you want to lose weight and get muscular, it works.
So,
But at what price over the years?
well, there's also, I was just talking to a therapist recently who has basically a philosophy that nutrition has a huge effect on your mental health. And that's another fact. That's another faucet of nutrition. She was talking about the importance of magnesium, the importance of certain electrolytes that we don't have. You and I, Dad, we have a water filter because our water's so bad,
Yes.
but we've also filtered out the electrolytes. And I forget that. I forget that I need to put that into my body.
You need to add that back. And again, you and I talked about it a few weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago. I really like the Mediterranean diet. I really like it. Because again, your brain needs carbohydrates to work. Anyway, I want to get off of this, get into our subject.
Let me say one more thing, because I can give proof text to your acidic statement. When I did the protein diet when I was young and just totally got it, I got gout in my feet.
Wow.
Because it's because of a lot of acidic.
Yep.
And so if you're out there and you're prone to it and you want to go that way, I can tell you from experience that you will go that way, and the way to get away from it was to go back to a balanced diet.
And I'm going to encourage our people out there, get the pH strips.
Yes.
You can get them at the health food
That's
store.
good.
And you follow the directions. I was going to tell you how to do it, but just follow the directions and keep your body in the middle.
I have
keep it balanced.
I have the pool ones. Does that work? Can I just put them in my mouth for a little while? No? Okay.
Let's get on to our subject.
Yeah, so
let's roll.
a good transition from health, talking about health, to opportunities would be, man, if you're not healthy, you really can't, you really aren't going to be in a place to seize opportunities when they come.
Yes.
And that health, what we've been talking about the last few weeks, has to do with not just your body, but your mind and your spirit as well. And I think all three are important. And so let's talk about opportunities. I mean, how often in your lives, I'm going to ask you, Tom and Dad, he's my dad, just FYI. You guys are probably thrown off if I call this guy Dad, but he's really my dad. How many opportunities have come in your life that if you didn't take them, then you wouldn't be where you are today? Like, in just an estimate. Like,
So Tom, go first.
Oh, I could jump right in the middle of this one, because when I got into bodybuilding, that was just an opportunity, and I fell into it. Can't do it. I don't think that way anymore. And then I planned for my next career, because it was a hot career. It was with computers, so I went to school for that. But when I came into the ministry was something else. And an opportunity came to me one day when Pastor Ron had mentioned at lunch that, hey, ever thought about going to the ministry? And I'm like, no, I didn't think about that. And he goes, well, you should. I go, well, there's a couple of questions I got to ask. I've been divorced. And Pastor Ron said, well, that's not applicable, because it says that you have to be a one-woman man.
Yep.
And I go, well, at that moment, I did not have a woman. God was working me on that. But I did end up with becoming a one-woman man with my beautiful wife, Tiffany. But there was an opportunity. Now, Pastor asked me, 3 more times. First 2 times I fasted, and the answer was no. And I knew that wasn't what Pastor wanted to hear, but it was for me. But when the opportunity came and I said yes, I didn't, and I'll go back to this one. I tell people all the time, there's a wait period. The Bible says if you wait upon the Lord,
Yes.
that you will rise up like wings of evil. You'll run and not get tired. So I tell people in that waiting period, you got to get busy. You can't just sit there and wait for something to come. You got to be busy about what you're doing. So I was volunteering at the church. I was helping on the board. I was doing these things.
I'm going to stop you right there, Tom, because that point is huge.
Huge.
And that's something that that is in our culture, but I don't know that people really talk about this, is waiting on God. We were just talking, Vince, with a friend of ours who was talking about that exact thing of waiting on God. You can wait on God so much that it keeps you from actually.
I think sometimes you can wait on God so much that you're waiting on God becomes a sin.
Yeah.
So I think there's a time to move.
I have a philosophy on this, and you guys tell me what you feel free to jump in and say what you think about this. But I believe that if you're constantly checking your heart and your intentions, that God is like, go for it. Do what you want to do. As long as your heart and intentions are good. And then occasionally he might interject and say, no, I want you to go a different direction. But if God tells you to go a certain direction in your teens, he may not change it ever, or he may change it 10 years down the road, right? He might change it 20. And there's a lot of leeway there. God did not create us, in my opinion, to be
Puppets.
Not just puppets, but slaves
or
robots,
or
like
mindless things.
mindless. Exactly. That's it. I mean, God created us to think, and not just think, but think critically. And then
I've said
do,
before
right?
in sermons before, I believe there are some times when we go to God in prayer to ask him his will on something, where he answers and says, I don't really care.
Yeah.
In other words, I'm going to God. God, I want to get a dog for the family. Should it be a German Shepherd or a Rottweiler?
Yeah.
And God says, I don't care.
So I always go back to
I don't care.
I always go back to the creation story, and I think about God's original plan there, and how non-specific his call was, how non-specific his push was. He said, "Here's a garden, right? Take care of it." Right? That's it. Didn't tell him how. Didn't tell him exactly what to do, which plants to give more, time.
He says,
to.
I've given you a brain.
Yeah.
I've given you logic, but I'm here to help you.
But
Call
that's just
on
it.
me.
God gives us
I'll
all
help
these
you.
gifts, and he's like, enjoy.
Yeah.
Take these gifts, use them.
Well,
for
you
good.
ask a question, and I'm going to answer that question now too. I would have never probably seized the opportunity to start a church had I not been kicked out of another church. We were in the youth ministry, and I told you this was an ultra Pentecostal church, and they believed, I'm going to use this just to describe something that describes the kind of people they were. They're the kind of people that would, swing the chandeliers, run and jump on the piano and start preaching. They run around the auditorium. And I didn't do that. And I started teaching the youth some biblical concepts of balance.
that you felt was in your heart.
Yeah, and they kicked me out, basically.
So let me stop you there, because I think this is another really important point.
Remember where you were.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. How many people would have just given up at that point and said, well, I tried the God thing. I tried the calling thing, and it
Right.
didn't work for me. I must have missed it.
But I did give up.
Well, for a
I
while.
did. I gave up until God spoke to me. I thought, well, this chapter's done. And then I told you that's where I had this vision. I never had one in my life. It said, go start a church
How
for
much
me.
time between when you gave up was there?
2 weeks.
Okay. So
2 weeks.
Yeah,
I
I
thought,
mean,
you know.
I think that, there are times that are very discouraging, right?
Yes.
And so I'll let you go ahead and finish, but I just want to make sure people understand that in discouraging times, those could be
Well,
Right.
well, Josh, come back.
monumental,
I'm
you know?
still holding my thought too. So come back, 'cause I can help.
We're all
I can-
caffeined up today.
I can help with that, Josh.
we haven't even given Vince a chance to talk. So
Hey,
we're
I'm
so
just
caffeined
listening.
up.
I'm ready to go. You guys are good. This
Well,
is good stuff.
Let's go back. I'm going to try to keep this thing in line here. Life affords us with all kinds of opportunities to do good, but most of us don't see the opportunities for what they are.
Mm.
Let me kind of focus this thing again.
Well, you were talking about the story, and I interrupted you. I'm sorry, but I thought that was important. But you were talking about when you gave up. What happened there? Like, what you got kicked out?
Yeah, what they did is they called a church meeting. This was so interesting. And this church was about 35, 45 people big, probably 20, 25 adults, a little bigger than that, and probably 25 young people. I had more young people than they had in the sanctuary on Sunday morning. And again, they were ultra Pentecostal. I mean, we spoke in tongues 10 times at every service, and we ran around, and the person that jumped up and down the most was the most spiritual. And for some reason, I thought, this is out of balance. I don't see this in Scripture. And when I tried to balance it, they got angry at me, and they got more angry at me and more angry at me. And so one day they went to the pastor, who happened to be my father-in-law. They said, we want to call a church business meeting tonight. We'd like Ron here, everybody here. So I went to this church meeting, and they handed it over to one of the elders in the church, and he got up and he said, it's come to our attention there's a certain person in our church who is leading people down a wrong road. And this certain person needs to be stopped. And this certain person is causing problems in the families. And so finally I raised my hand, and they said, yes, Ron. I said, I think I'm the certain person. And they said, you are. And they
Wow.
asked me to leave. Now, when they asked me to leave, it's so interesting because I had about 10 of the young people with me that I was overseeing in ministry. And they stood up one at a time, 2 or 3 of them did. And they got kind of nasty. He said, how dare you come against Pastor Ron? They call me Pastor Ron, I think, or I forgot what they call me. They said, he's been leading us and showing us how to go door to door witnessing. He's been da-da-da-da. Anyway, they told me to leave. And I did. And I thought, well, this chapter's over. I thought I was going to be a youth pastor or something. And 2 weeks later, I had what I will call a vision, for lack of better wording. Saw a big screen, saw myself hanging a sign, and this voice said, go start a church for me. That was almost 50 years ago, and I'm still here. So that's all I wanted to say.
No, I love that, because so many people, when they encounter defeat, when they feel like they've done the right thing, but they encounter defeat, they don't see it for what it actually is. And I think what it actually is it's a crossroads moment. It's a moment where you could basically say, well, I tried, and I'm just going to settle now. Or you can say, well, what else is there? And I also like the fact that you weren't trying to cause a problem. You were just speaking what was in your heart. Right?
I had no
You were
idea they
doing your
felt.
thing.
I had no idea they felt this way.
Yeah.
I had no idea that they were actually knowing what I was teaching the young people. What I basically told the young people was, this running around the church and jumping up and down is scaring people off. Nobody wants to come to our church.
Well, and I think that that's such a good view of who Jesus was. And again, we at the beginning I said we're not going to push God, and we won't, but we are going to talk about our faith because that's who we are.
Well,
But-
Josh, as it goes back to me, as my opportunity came when Pastor Ron had asked me that, it wasn't 4 years till I took it.
Right.
Yeah.
But I didn't give
Longer.
up on the opportunity because there was more little opportunities.
Okay.
Because I started a Bible study.
Yep.
I was serving in the church.
And you
I was
saw
helping-
those as
Yeah.
important.
Yes. Well, they were all opportunities because Doug would say, hey, you want to help me with Man Cave? I'm like, yes, I would.
Yeah.
Opportunity accepted. Then all of a sudden, would you like to do a Bible study? Yes, I would. I don't know how. So I think you start to see those little steps leading you to the
What's
bigger
interesting
step.
about that, and just both of you guys, the story is reminding me of the Gospels of what Jesus did. I mean, when Jesus started his ministry, he didn't start thinking, I'm going to really tick these people off. That's my goal, right? That wasn't his goal. His goal was to speak the truth, to be who he truly was, and to tell people that through him God would save them. And that his intentions were perfect. They were perfect.
Yeah, I was
but then he also, Tom, going back to your idea with the small things, is he started off with smaller things that people would say those are small. You're going to you're going to this little guy's mother-in-law's house, and you're going to start talking there. What good is that going to do? You're
Right.
not in the synagogues. You're not at the temple. You're not in all these big places.
Right.
And he saw those little things, Tom. And when you, what do they say? When you are faithful to small things,
Right.
bigger opportunities will come.
I was shocked they asked me to leave. I mean, I was just shocked.
So I'm going to say this. Most people, or not most people, but many people have missed big opportunities because
Yep.
they didn't realize that the smaller ones were the ones that lead you there.
They were the roadmap there.
Yeah.
God's still looking for people who do small things well. He's still looking for them. But I'm going to change again the topic a little bit. Let's talk about people who have turned problems into opportunities. And I mentioned a few weeks ago, MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Drivers. And that all, now help me here, that all started when wasn't a mother who had a child or had somebody killed in a drunk driving accident. And then I read this week about Halo. They specialize in safe bedding for newborns. And Bill Schmidt lost his firstborn to sudden death syndrome or crib death. And as a result of that, he came up with this business. That's probably saved a lot of other kids from crib death. John Sundin
And it would
lost,
be so easy to just fold it.
wouldn't it? It would. But
Gosh.
you know what? That's what we're talking about today.
Well, there's somebody that's close to us that's doing this, Scott Winkler. He lost his son Clayton just a few months ago. And so now he's president of a board to help bring awareness to fentanyl
And
problems.
what's
And-
wild, Tom, is seeing him from my perspective, and I'm not super close to Scott, but seeing him be in pain,
Yes.
but stick with the community that
Yeah.
he's in
Yeah.
is so inspirational to me.
And he's a lawyer. He's an attorney.
Yeah, but that's so inspirational. I mean, my first thought would be, I'm going to go into the woods and I'm going to be alone and leave me alone.
Right.
I don't know of anything in life
It's harder.
that's harder and more hurtful than losing a little one or a child, period.
Yeah, I've seen it personal. I've seen a couple in our
Right.
church years ago lost their daughter to cancer at 5 years old, and my daughter's 6. I just couldn't imagine it. but they leaned into they started doing fundraisers, and they started just basically raising money and awareness towards childhood
help
cancers.
others.
Like, it was crazy, It's really
a guy named John
inspirational.
Sundit lost 2 of his brothers to drugs. And they tried everything in the world to get these guys off of drugs, and with no success. And he said they just wanted to fit in and be cool. And so he lost both of them, and he devoted himself to finding a solution. And he started a group called Natural High, and started traveling the country, going into schools, showing young people how to get natural highs without drugs. And we know we get runner's high. There's all kinds of highs.
Yeah.
And I thought that was very creative.
It's very cool because so many people, again, myself included in the past, I've seen the obstacles as a sign that I'm not going in the right direction, right? But so many times, it's those obstacles are there, and
But just think, Josh, how many lives these people have saved.
Yeah,
They have lost a life, maybe, but because of their determination,
they leaned into the purpose beyond the pain,
and they've saved a lot of lives that would not have been saved had they not gone through this awful ordeal.
They don't get lost in what they don't get lost in what they've lost. They
Yes.
move forward and create something new, and that's huge. Have you? I don't remember, and you guys probably remember this when you were kids because there's probably more of these trees. But do you remember those trees that would produce the helicopter seeds?
Yes.
Do you know what I'm talking about? And then there would just be like millions and millions of those over your driveway. Like they'd be all over, right? I remember we used to take them and we'd throw them in the air, and we'd just play with them all day. But there'd be just millions of them all over. They were kind of a nuisance. What's interesting about that is that tree drops all those seeds. And you go back the next year and you think, oh, there's probably 1,000 new trees, right? And there's not. There might be one little sproutling and it might not survive, but that tree doesn't stop producing because it keeps producing. I think that's huge because I think sometimes when we do have opportunities or we lose, we stop producing those seeds because we think nothing good is going to come from that.
I think it's the people that do those little things on the daily. We call it grind now. We call
Right.
it grinding.
Yeah.
I'm grinding every day.
Right.
It's those people, they continue to do that. I think that they have the ability to see the big picture, to see their purpose in every little thing that they do,
Isn't that their path to healing too?
Yeah, well, that's just it too. So somebody was talking about in a book recently I was reading, it was Mark Manson's book, which I won't say the title because it's could be offensive to some people.
Yeah,
But
sure.
he was talking about climbing, people that end up climbing, Mount Everest or whatever. And he said that those people, he's like, the people that just have the vision of the mountaintop are usually not the people that get there. It's the people that enjoy the pain of climbing,
Oh, that's
or they
interesting.
enjoy the journey of climbing.
That's interesting.
It's very interesting.
Because those people's bodies
But then
are
what he
dying
said,
when they're
then what
climbing to the
he
top of the
followed
mountain.
up with
Yes.
if you don't enjoy the journey of what you're doing, you're probably not going to be successful in it.
That's cool.
And some people don't add up the sacrifice that might be required. They'll see a sacrifice of, oh, I shouldn't do it. The sacrifice my wife and I made to leave the corporate world into the ministry world was I sold a car. We ended up with one car because we had to reduce our finances because I took a 2/3 salary cut. And so as you come in, you've got to realize sometimes you got to move lateral before you move up.
Yep.
And opportunities like that.
I think
which-
often you do, yeah.
Well, opportunities like
backwards.
that, you could look at it and go, well, I got to make too many sacrifices. Well, what if it's that sacrifice that you need to get to the next point?
And those moments are scary, right?
are.
Like, because you're like, I got to sell a car. I remember the same thing happened to Hannah and I. We moved to Ventura and it was a new adventure for us. And we're like, wait, we moved to Ventura. It's really expensive to live here. Like, we have to downsize. So we started selling our cars and stuff, but it's like, you don't want to do that. I was reading a story this week. You guys have probably heard this story, and Pastor, you've probably used this in an illustration before, but it was about a young man who wanted to marry the farmer's daughter. And so he goes to the farmer and says, I want to marry your daughter. And he says, okay, but I want you to stand in the middle of this field and I'm going to open the barn door and a bull's going to run out. And I want you to grab its tail. Because I'm going to give you 3 chances. So he opens the barn door. First bull runs out, looks mean, ferocious. So he dodges the bull, lets it run by because he knows he has 3 chances. He opens the second door. Big old bull comes out. It's snorting, whatever. He's no way, right? Passes out. Finally, the third one comes out and it's scrawny. He's like, oh, yes, it's time. I'm going to grab, it's the right bull. It's the small bull. He maneuvers himself to go to grab its tail and it doesn't have one. And I think that's us in life with opportunity. Like we're not willing to tackle the hard thing that's in front of us to get what we want. It isn't always about what we want, but to help others and help others.
Well,
around
another
us.
mountain climbing analogy, because we're in the mountains, is if you were to climb a mountain, does the mountain change? No, you do, right?
Right, yeah.
It's the journey of trying actually changes us and makes us into who we're supposed to be. I mean, it's the same with weightlifting,
good.
working out,
Yeah.
eating right.
Don't problems often disguise themselves? Or I should say opportunities disguise themselves as
Oh,
problems.
100%. Yeah.
But let me talk about something else here, because I originally wanted to talk a lot about social media today, and you guys thought it wasn't a good idea, so we didn't go that direction. But
I never said that.
we have opportunities all around us.
Yes.
Now, we are hosting a pastor's conference up here at the ranch in a couple months. And I remember one pastor's conference we did, and it had an old guy. See, I can talk about old guys because I'm older. But he was lecturing some of the guys at the table. I had left to go do something, and I'd come back, and he was lecturing them against the evils of Facebook, the evils of social media, and how godly people don't waste their time. And I came back and I kind of set him straight in a very hopefully loving way. I said, I have to disagree with you. I have a lot of friends on social media and I use it as an advantage. Well, we have a guy in our Vegas church, Kyle, and he just texted me yesterday. He's so excited. He said, I'm on one of these neighborhood apps and I was going to use it to promote my construction company. And I thought, why not? Pastor Ron, of course, I've taught sermons on why not. He said, I'm just going to put a request out there, or not a request, but I'm going to put out there an invitation. And he said, anybody have any prayer requests out there? And he said, all of a sudden they started flowing in.
Wow.
And he said, one of them said, in fact, he let me read some of them. I'm a single mom and I've just moved and I'm having a hard time. I don't have anything. And another one said there was a death in the family. Pray for me because I believe in God. Another one, I have a loved one in the hospital and I believe in prayer. And all of a sudden, I started talking to him, and I go, wow, the single mom, find out what she needs. We have a warehouse. We have furniture and stuff. This is a chance to help her. And I said, the death in the family, Kyle, go out today and buy him a book on grief, a Christian book. And then thirdly, the loved one in the hospital, Doug piped in, Pastor Doug from Vegas, and said, hey, we'll go up and visit this loved one. I'll go with you. Da-da-da-da. He opened up a whole ministry right there on the spot through social media.
It's funny because there's a whole generation of new business books and business seminars that talk about the fact that you should never put success at the top of your list as far as, you know, what you want to accomplish. And we've been talking about this for a long time, but instead put your purpose there, right? And your purpose will lead to success. And success isn't bad, but if you run over everyone to get it, it's not good, right? Necessarily. But if you, like you said, feed the needs, feed the people. What did Jesus say to Peter, right? When he left, he said, just feed my sheep, man.
Yeah.
Just do the job.
Josh, look, you guys know that I'm on TikTok. I'm 65 years old in a couple months. And
I need to join just to watch your TikToks.
what I'm just saying. So I've done over 500 TikToks. And I was telling my daughter, you know, what would I do? She goes, well, figure out what it is you are going to do, but do it quick. And I go, what do you mean? She goes, under 40 seconds. And I'm like, well, I can't do anything. So I started using a verse as a jump in to an idea. And so now if I miss one, they'll email me. If I'm an hour off,
That's awesome.
they'll email me. And it's funny because it doesn't bother me. I just like, well, it's something that I thought, oh, I'll do that. And well, it wasn't easy doing it. You know, you had to perfect it. You get the idea. But when you see that other people are starting to get blessed by it, you're like, okay, I can see it now. But you could look at it as a tiger that you got by the tail, and how do you let go of it? I mean, you just don't. You just keep moving forward because you got to know that it was an opportunity. You took it, and now you just got to keep it up.
Well, and you don't take an orange off of a tree and bite right into it, do you? No, you peel back to get the fruit. And that's what you're talking about. You got to peel back some of these layers, and then you got to get to the fruit of that. And using social media, you got to peel back some of those layers. You got to peel back that sour part. You got to peel back the thing that's not good. You don't eat a banana without peeling it back, because there is some good in there. And so you got to be able to pull that out. But I agree with you, Josh, about if you're passionate and your passion leads to helping others, an opportunity will come out of that.
Yeah.
I do believe that.
But we're not taking advantage of all the opportunities around us.
For sure.
I'm a pastor, and people will write me very often or text me or talk to me at church. and say, man, I can't find ministry. I want to get involved in ministry. Do what Kyle did here in Vegas.
Yeah.
You've got ministry. Right now, if he really puts some feet on some of these requests that are being, given to him
Well,
on the internet,
many people-
he's going to be busy with ministry.
How many people are think to themselves, man, I wish that people would give me accolades. I wish people would see what I'm doing. You're right now in real time, you're acknowledging Kyle, right, for
Right.
doing basically what was in his heart to do. And so, he wasn't trying. Do you think he was like, hey, Pastor Ron, will you mention me on that podcast, please?
He doesn't even know we're mentioning.
Right.
But again,
He was
he
just
was
doing the
going
thing.
to use it for his own purposes to promote his construction company.
Right.
Yeah.
And I wrote him this morning and I said, now watch how you get blessed in your construction company because you put God's needs and his kingdom first.
Right. And there's other.
Pastor, remember when we did the phone book ministry?
Oh, yeah.
It was
Yep.
what an opportunity. We heard Pastor Ron talk about phone book. So I just tried it, and the name came to my mind. And I go, well, that can't be in the phone book. I looked it up, and sure it was. So I called it. And the guy, I guess, of course, it's awkward. And you're like, hey, how you doing? I'm Tom. Like, uh-huh. This is back when you had to dial the number,
Right.
and they didn't know
With
who
your
was
finger?
coming in.
Well,
And-
let's explain what the phone book ministry
yeah,
was,
well,
basically.
You
Yeah.
might have to explain what a phone book is. My kids don't even know. So.
Right.
well,
But-
it was a big, thick book about 3 inches long. Pastor
right.
Ron says, if you just take your finger and just put it down, call and see if you have some ministry. But I got a name in my mind, and I looked to see if it was in the phone book, and it was.
Well, what it was, I was just frustrated with so many people asking me, I
Yeah.
don't have ministry, find ministry for me. I should go a phone book, go home and pray, open it up, find 3 or 4 names in there, and sometimes they had addresses, and write them a letter and give them your testimony in a letter.
Wow.
See what happens.
Yeah.
I've now anointed you for the phone book ministry.
Well, you wanted to talk about social media. There's your
That was an early-
transition because now it is face. You could put something
Yes.
on Facebook or Twitter or,
Right.
or TikTok or whatever it is, and it can be encouraging, But at the same time, some people get so frustrated because they aren't doing as well on there as they want to do. But how do you know that you didn't hit the right
Yes.
person?
They're
that
looking
one
at it the
person,
wrong way.
right?
They're looking
Yes,
at it
they
the
are.
wrong way, Josh.
Yes, they are.
Again, you got to approach the social media thing in a different way.
Yeah.
Not to see how popular it can make me, how many followers I can get, how many friends I can get. Like maybe throw out a prayer there during the day.
Yes.
Say, this is for anybody out there. You won't believe the times that I've got up 2 a.m, I couldn't sleep, and I go, hey, I was going to post whatever comes on my mind.
Right.
I'm going to post it on social media. And one night I posted something like, someone out there is about to give up on life. And it's 2 a.m. I'm awake. Must be God's will. I just want to encourage you. And I did that 2 or 3 times, I think, through a 10-year period of time. And I had at least 2 or 3 people write me back going, I was thinking about committing suicide. And I
Wow.
saw your post. But you can post a prayer, a quote, encouragement. You can defend people if they're getting roasted on there. You can invite people. You can change people's life by using social media. There's opportunities out there.
I heard a talk by, it was years ago at a camp, Hume Lake, and it was a missionary who was speaking, and he talked about how there's like a hero syndrome in our culture, how everyone wants to be the hero, how everyone wants to do the big thing. But if they see a smaller thing, they pass on it because they don't think it's significant enough. And the quote that he said that I've used so many times is, most people don't do anything because they can't do everything. Like they can't be that person.
Right.
They can't be that hero. And I know that doesn't apply to everyone that's listening to this, obviously, but maybe that's you out there. You're thinking, man, I want to be so significant. I want to do something so good. And if you're younger, maybe that affects younger people more. I don't know. But when I was young, I was like, I want to do so much. But then I realized it's the little things that lead to that. It really is. And I know it's a broken record.
Yeah.
It's a broken record, but we're talking about opportunity. That's how you do it.
Well,
Right?
you even take a step further. One of my heroes in the Bible is Gideon. And you got Gideon doing something that was contrary to what it was made to. He was beating out wheat in the wine press.
Wine press.
But he was doing it because they needed to do it. And he was doing it, seemed like underground, because people would come and steal his stuff. But he was doing something. So we're talking about it. Opportunities come sometimes when you're doing something else. So he's
Right.
doing something, and a lot of people will come to me and go, I just can't hear God. And I say, well, you're doing something that would put you in that moment to hear God. He's doing a regular thing, and an angel comes to him and says, "You mighty man of God, valor." And he goes, "You talking to me?" I mean, it's like,
Is there someone else in the room?
but he was doing something, and so if you can just do something.
Well, there's a term that floats around. There's a book called Mindset, and it's called the term is growth mindset. So if you have a growth mindset, you want things to grow that you're involved in, whatever, right? But the thing that you can cultivate the most is yourself, right? And so I love Gideon's story because his entire story is wrapped around the idea of growing deep instead of wide. God, even with the numbers of warriors, that he's like,
Right.
well, I have to have all these warriors. No, you just need this many,
Right.
But you need deep people, and so with social media, some of us, young people especially, we get caught up in the numbers. We think, there's I didn't get 100 views, or I didn't get 20, 30 views, or whatever it is, and you get frustrated, but you got 30 people viewing something you did that day. I mean, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, you had to call those people from an actual telephone. My kids, we were watching Dumb and Dumber the other day, and the bad guys in the phone booth, and they're like, "What is that?"
Right.
It just, things have changed so much, and we live in a society, a culture right now where you can literally affect people from across the world. You can affect people in your community as well, and you can do that in such easy ways.
Well, one of those 30 listeners in your audience could be the next vice president of the United States. You don't know who you're
That's
talking
so
to.
great.
I love when I saw you do a graduation one time, Pastor, for a kindergarten class.
Kindergarten.
And you said, I need to show these kids respect because one day they could be the heart surgeon working on my
me.
heart, or a dentist pulling or filling a tooth.
That's right.
But it's so true. I mean, I do believe that as you look at opportunities, you have to realize you're also affecting other people.
Yes.
And I think, isn't that the biggest thing that we can do is take opportunities to help other people?
Yeah,
Well, there's also a class issue too.
What now?
A class issue. Some of us
Right.
think that I'm only going to reach that people group because that people group is important. How many success stories have you heard of where the person comes from a rough neighborhood? They come from that ghetto. They come from that hood. How many people are? And how many people? I see people online that are going and speaking at school assemblies. Manuel Carasalis
Right.
is one of them. And you see people that are pouring into these rough neighborhoods. And I'm like, that right there is huge. Who's doing that? And not many people do.
Well, it's so funny. My daughter Tessa, who is a talent manager at Daily Wire, and will tell me, if I get discouraged on my TikTok, she goes, "Dad, you're 65 and your audience is 17 to 25." And I'm like, "Oh, you're putting perspective for me." Because what can you do to have a audience?
I'm messing up here. I'm dropping my phone, but
No.
I just did the math really quickly. If you hit 30 people a day with a Facebook post, by the end of the year, it's 10,000 people.
Yeah.
I mean, think
And
about
then
that.
multiply how many people they might reach
Right.
with
Yeah.
your comments.
It's
Right,
huge.
yeah.
Or they might repost.
Pastor, does that blow you away?
Yes.
With all the people that you've been hearing you through the years, we're talking millions.
Right.
And pretty soon there's probably people in India that
Oh, there is.
would know
Yeah,
Pastor
there
Ron
is, yes.
because of that.
Yep.
And I'm thinking, you didn't set out to do it. You had 10 teenagers.
I did not set out to do this. As I said, I think on last week's podcast, I had no intentions of being a pastor. I just wanted to show people God was real. I was excited about him, and that's what it turned into.
I think that's good because I think don't underestimate the opportunity in what basically how God made you. Because like you said, you didn't know you were going to do all that, but you might be listening and thinking, well, what do I have to say? And what do I have to offer? I forget the guy's name. I think his name's Mel something. He did a TED Talk and he talked about the chance of just being alive. It's like a 400 trillion to 1 that we're alive. And if you just, it's a miracle. I mean, it's just a miracle. 400 trillion to 1. You think about, I was born into this world. What do you have to give? You have something to give.
You do.
You're a 400 trillion to 1 chance,
it's
and
funny.
God has made you unique.
I just want to say this to
give
the
to others.
people that are listening to this because people have asked me personally, how do you guys prepare for the podcast? I said, I don't. I really don't. but I'm always reading. I'm always
Right.
I'm always preparing for opportunities.
Right. Yep.
But I don't specifically prepare for the podcast because I like how things organically come to the surface.
I'm the one who does prepare. That's
That's
why
okay.
I'm always interrupting,
Yeah.
going, let's go this direction, that direction.
Pastor, I do
I'm the
too.
pilot. I'm the pilot.
You are. I prepare too.
and that's okay. That's good.
But Josh, isn't doing something that you normally do preparing? Because I'm on your page.
Well-
I get up in the morning, work out because it's an opportunity I won't have the rest of the day.
Right,
I go to have coffee because I need to drink coffee. I like coffee. And I need to read the Bible. So I try to put them all in succession.
When I said I don't prepare for the podcast, I already corrected myself. I do prepare for
do.
whatever comes my way each day. And
because
so
you're doing
that's
the
part of my
normal thing.
habit.
You're doing the
You
normal
didn't-
thing.
You didn't even know the topic till you sat down right here.
But the reason I said this, and I think it's important, is because to this, what has bubbled up to the surface in this talk right now, the theme of this talk, if you haven't already captured it, is the fact that most people are missing big opportunities because they're not paying attention to the small things.
Right.
Right?
Well, and one of the reasons I keep interrupting, and people probably get upset with me, but I see us starting to ramble a little bit, and I say, okay, now let's get back to this. And I want to do that right now because you had mentioned special people groups a while ago. Let's talk for a moment about special people groups and discuss some of the opportunities they have to make the world a better place. For example, right now, let's talk about some of the younger people, maybe 30 years of age, 40, 45, who are fully engaged in their careers. How can they see the opportunities at hand when right now they're really engaged in making their career into something successful? For example, I'm just going to kind of start you out. They can promote health in the workplace. Let's say that, you're saying, what kind of opportunities am I afforded in my career, my career part of life right here? There's all kinds of opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what if all of a sudden you go, the group goes out to lunch every day and we're eating at these fast food places. I don't like it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start bringing my lunch and I'm going to challenge the other people in my group to bring their lunch. And I'm going to swap some of the things. I want to bring some extra food, swap some of the food with them. This is a crazy idea. But you say, I have an opportunity to help other people become more healthy. I'm kind of into that now. So you know what? Hey, guys, I know you're going out to eat, but I brought my own lunch. I prepared some health stuff, a few sandwiches here if you want one. I mean, I'm just kind of getting you started.
So,
a Bible study at lunchtime or something would be really cool.
To interject and just to answer that question too, how is usually the wrong question. It just is. It's usually the wrong question. You do need to get to the how, but the first question you need to ask is the why. And Tom and I were talking about this last week. I was like, I can argue with your how all day long. I can argue with it all day long because there's so much information. There's so many different ways to do things. I cannot argue with your why. I cannot argue. Like if you have a purpose, I'm going to see you that you have that purpose, and I respect it. Even if I don't agree with your purpose, it's not my responsibility to
Okay,
disagree.
as a Christian believer, what is our purpose? Our purpose, I think you would all agree, is to go out there and love people into the kingdom of God. Love them, care about them. That's it.
So-
and I'm saying you're at your career stage. You say, I can't find purpose.
Yeah.
Find ways in that career journey that you can start loving people and helping them with their health,
And if you-
helping them to know God.
If you keep why at the forefront, then you're going to keep your purpose at the forefront, and you're going to know what to do in the moment. And that's the thing that has changed my life the last year, is that I can worry about the past as much as I want, but it's not going to change anything. I can learn from it, of course, but if I worry about it, see, I schedule my worry time in now. I schedule it in. It's called journaling. I schedule it in. I write out my worries and fears. I leave them there. And I don't worry about the future either. I focus on the here and now. And when you do that and you know your purpose, you're going to know
We're
you're going to know what to do.
Love our
in the moment.
God. Love our God with all our heart, soul, and mind, and love our neighbors as ourselves.
Simple.
And so, if you're pursuing your career,
Right.
you can find all kinds of little purposes there. Let's say you work maybe 30 miles away.
Yeah.
Get a carpooling thing going, carpool, and you can say, okay, here's the deal. There's 3 of us carpooling, and every day someone gets a turn at choosing the radio station we have on. I had a
That'd be
lady one
fun.
time.
That'd be fun. That'd
I
be
had a
fun.
lady that wrote me some time ago when we were on the radio in I don't know how many thousands of places, but we were on the radio daily. And she said, Pastor Ron, I listen to you every week. And my husband was a non-believer. He hated church. He hated Christianity. He hated religion. And so we had this thing going where when we were in my car and I was driving, I got to choose a radio station. When we were in his car and he was driving, he got to choose it. And so he fell and broke his leg or something, I can't remember, and he had to go to the doctor. So I'd have to drive him. And so I got to choose what radio station we had on. And I purposely made his appointments around your broadcast time. And he ended up getting saved through that, through listening to you on the radio.
That's good.
And I'm just saying, what I'm trying to say, and I'm probably getting very...
No, I love where you're going.
Am I going somewhere?
No,
I'm just saying,
yeah.
in any phase of life,
Right.
if our why is to love people
Right.
and help them with their health, help them in their pursuit of God, we can find little purposes in that journey.
The what just comes naturally.
Yeah, yeah. I think so. I think you're right. I think some of that though too, like you said, the what sometimes doesn't always come naturally if you're not prepared. And I think being prepared. Malcolm Gladwell has a really good background. He talks about, to become a master of something, you have to spend 10,000 hours. And I think if you have, I'm not saying you have to spend 10,000 hours in doing this stuff. And I want to go back to what you said about careers. I think if you're prepared, I think your why will line up with your what and how. But if you can't just say, well, why, and then not ever have any kind of readiness
You gotta have
about
both.
you.
You gotta have both.
I think it's a balance. But I want to go back to your career because I love what you said. Somebody working in the workplace and they're fixed on this career and they're doing their thing. I think also too, we forget to slow down and remember that we're people, and then to be present with people.
Have you ever seen?
Because I think that's huge. Being present with people, because I think we get so fixated on the thing we're supposed to do that, and even like one of my goals, my personal goal, and this is, and I have a why behind it, just so you're thinking, but is I carry now in my 4Runner, I carry a little battery pack that can jump people's car, and I try to have a gas can back there.
Wow.
I can on the outside.
You're prepared.
Just because
I almost hit you up yesterday because I was on empty and I was thinking, I bet Vince has a gas can in his car.
But I want to be able to, and my why is not because I want to be the hero and save somebody on the side of the road. I just want to be present with people and stop to help. And for me, that's to be able to stop and say, I've left enough margins, and you've talked about this. I've left enough time in my life that driving across town that I can stop and just say, hey man, I'm here to help you today.
Were you the one that's telling me?
And just be there for somebody.
Were you the one that was telling me that Jay Leno does that?
Jay Leno does it all the
He's like
time.
known to stop and help people?
He won't only stop to help. He'll like get under their hood, and fix their car.
That's so cool.
How
it's
cool
so
is that?
cool.
But real quickly, I think
cool.
a lot of our listening audience out there, they know the why.
Right.
They've been in church
Right.
long
Yeah,
enough.
I agree.
But they have not been told about some of the hows.
Yeah.
And when we talk about some of these things, they go, wait a minute, I can start a Bible study at work at lunch and have everybody bring their lunch. Why not? Why
Well,
not?
I think marrying up the preparation with the how is really important. I think that's
Yes.
what we're doing here,
Right.
Because like, have you ever seen like a job description and it says must be able to lift 50 pounds or whatever? Like, I'm not gonna never lift 50 pounds and then take that job and think, well, I don't know if it'll ever happen.
Tyler might have.
No, but what you do is you come in prepared, right, ready, and it's a very simple
Well, let me ask you this question.
idea. But
What kind of opportunities are more available to the elderly than they are to many other people? A lot of our elderly are sitting out there thinking, I'm retired, God's through with me. No. He could still use you a lot. So, I mean, what kind of opportunities are afforded to them that maybe in other people groups, they're not so available? For example, what if you just volunteered one day a week at the rescue mission? Whoa, you have time. You don't have to be at work at 8 to 5 days a week. What if a charity organization, you became a church volunteer? Some of the older people, man, you have all kinds of stuff to give and you don't realize it.
One thing they have an opportunity to give is their wisdom.
Their wisdom.
That is something that if you're out there, my wife is always, she's education, she's a superintendent, and they want people to come in and read books to the kids.
Wow.
What an opportunity.
Wow.
Just somebody to come in a different voice, not the teacher's voice, somebody to read a book. If you're out there, what better thing could you do? Because Josh, I love what you say, because when you're present, there is opportunity. Because if you're not there, there's zero opportunity. But when you are present someplace, there is an opportunity for the why to come out. Why do I live my life? I'll tell you exactly my why, and it pushes me to everything I do. I know that this lifestyle works. A life that is submitted to Christ as he's leading my life. I know that works because the other one didn't work. So as I go out there, that is my why, to experience things and to share with others that there is hope.
Well, you said they have wealth. wealth of wisdom, a lot of the older people.
So good.
I mean, they lived back in a day and age where some of them actually learned how to can. You know, they would take fruits and stuff off of fruit trees and vegetables, and they would do canning. My wife knows how to sew. She can do anything on a sewing machine. You know how many young people don't know how to do that? Cooking class, knitting class. I mean, you know, again, our why is to lead people into the kingdom of God and to love people where they're at. And what a wonderful way. What's a more wonderful way to do this than saying, hey, put a thing on social media. You know, I'm having a class 2 or 3 days a week where I'll show you young people how to sew.
Yeah.
I have
So
a couple
simple.
sewing machines here. And during the course of that, I'm sure they're going to share with you some of their life, and you can pray for them. You can invite them to church, on and on and on.
Teach kids to write cursive, man. They don't
what?
Cursive.
Cursive.
We were laughing the other day. I wrote something in cursive, and one of my younger kids was like, "What is that?"
Yes.
And I'm like, because they don't teach it
They don't
anymore
teach
in
it.
school. So I'm like, oh, this is a secret way that I can write notes to my wife.
Our wives went to one of those places where you paint and they teach you how to paint.
Yeah.
And your wife, I saw her picture. My wife's, they were different, but they both wrote the word love in cursive.
In cursive.
And my daughter, she's really into art. She grabs this and she looks at it and she goes, "Wow, mommy did this." And she was so interested in the fact that she knew how to do cursive.
Isn't that crazy?
Well, but the point there is like,
No, right.
there has to be a point, but it's the idea is that everyone knows something
yes.
that
They can give.
many people don't.
Yeah.
You know?
And what an opportunity, and I'm holding up an iPhone, is because even if you're shut in at a place like we all during the pandemic, there was opportunities. I love it when older people are on Facebook Live teaching something because they're out there. Because you're going, way to go. It took guts to get on there.
I just had a thought, Tom, with the iPhone. I was like, it's our modern day lightsaber, and you can either use it for good or evil.
Yeah, it's good.
Yes, you can.
That's actually good.
It is.
I heard a story this week. I don't remember the source, but he was talking about during the pandemic, this person that didn't know what they were going to do. They had lost their livelihood, and they said, "Well, don't you know how to cook?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, I do." And they're like, "Well, why don't you cook online? Why don't you teach somebody to cook online?" Like, what? And it was just like so easy. Like they had the answer. It was just that they just had to do
Vince, what if you got online and you said, "Anybody want to learn how to fish?
it. Right.
Meet me at this place on this day. I'll even teach you how to clean a fish."
Oh, now we're talking.
Unbelievable. I mean, there is no reason for anybody sitting out there saying to themselves, "I have no purpose in life."
By
There's
the way,
opportunities all over the place.
That was one of my favorite moments, teaching my kids how to clean a fish. Like when just being able, like, and doing it for my wife, just cutting it open and just pulling it, and they're just like,
Josh wanted to learn how to hunt when he was little, and he probably remember this. And so I went out. I said, "Okay, let's. It's dove season." And so we shot a dove, and Josh was all excited. Remember, guys, okay, now we're going to go clean him and gut him and eat him. And at that point, you were kind of turned off.
I probably was. And you know, I grew up, but looking back, I don't remember that story, but I remember actually doing that. And I'm so thankful that I have that skill. I can clean a bird if I have to, you know, it's just little things like that. But, you know, going back, it's, man, like whoever you are out there listening to this, you have a talent that you are probably, you know, not seeing the full effect of. You have a gift that God will give you. We believe in this. You have opportunities that other people don't have, and they might seem small to you, but they're not, because they're yours. They're unique, right?
Live intentionally.
Yeah.
I mean, again, we need to be people of purpose, and we need to see that there's many doors of opportunity out there.
Yeah.
And especially as Christians, to share the gospel and show people the reality of God. And sometimes these opportunities come when we just get 2 or 3 people around us, whether it's for a cooking class or whether it's for a canning class, or we're showing somebody how to knit or how to sew.
Can I say
life takes place?
Can I say one more thing about social media real quick? Because you did bring it up. Maybe we should have talked about it today. Maybe we'll do next week. I don't know.
I wanted to, and you didn't want to.
Well, we needed it to be more. Anyway, it doesn't matter. We won't get you guys all caught up in our meetings. But see, now you threw me off. Now I don't even know what I'm talking about.
I do want you to, because you said something key. You said the word talent.
I know.
And I think that's a great you want to go into. I just think the parable of the talent is such a great, also just description of just talking about opportunity.
And it goes along with what I was going to say.
Okay, perfect.
I remember now.
This is great.
Just I had a moment. My caffeine's wearing off. But with social media, we are teaching an entire generation to grow up and play their symphony for the crowd. But yet the crowd's selfish. The crowd only, likes what they like. The crowd only applauds when you give them what they want. But in our tradition, we believe you should be playing for an audience of one.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And there's an analogy. I don't remember if we talked about it in the podcast here, but the violinist who was world famous, and when he played on the stage, people just were like, wow, and they would stand up and give him an ovation. The exact same violinist, he played in the subway, and people were like, meh, whatever. Same music, same talent, world class, but the people didn't care because he was in the wrong place.
No appreciation.
And the idea that I took from that was like, be yourself.
Yes.
Be the best version that you can be, and play for an audience of one. Play for an audience one. And if you do that every single day, then the opportunities are just going to come. Those are going to be.
We're not here to serve people. We're here to serve God by serving people, but we're serving God.
And even out there, and I always think about David being on a hill like right over there. He's out there watching sheep, just doing his thing, and he's got a sling and a stone, and a bear comes up, and he kills the bear. Then it says he kills a lion. So when it came to Goliath, he already had opportunities to prepare himself, and then the Goliath thing came natural.
Yeah.
He already knew what he was doing. So you never know that something that you are engaged with doesn't really have a bigger meaning or a bigger purpose somewhere down the road. So you can't discount. So many people want to discount something, like we've all been saying here, just different ways. An opportunity could
If you're even out there and you're sick, or say you have cancer or have a disease, you say, where are my opportunities? Maybe you start researching your specific illness, and you start sharing on Facebook things you find out about your illness. Or you start experimenting with, when you get down, you start praising God and you start praying, and you share that on social media, or you share that with your friends, or you say, hey, I found this very helpful when you're fighting this kind of health battle. I mean, there's purpose in everything. There's opportunities in everything.
I've also done a practice where lately, where I will think of something and I'll think, this could be funny or good. I'm going to do it. And I don't care what people think. I don't care if it seems silly. A lot of times I'll do it. I posted something the other day where I'm just running outside and jumping. It was kind of silly, but it made a point, and I put it out there. And I thought, you know what? What's the worst that can happen? And you know what happened? No one made fun of me. Nobody said that's ridiculous. That I know of. And if they did, I don't care. I mean, that's
right. Just kidding.
But that's just it. Like I don't have enough energy to worry about what people think.
What my wife is in the hospital.
And when I say I don't care, let me. Sorry, Tom, I want to get to this. But when I say I don't care, I need to stop saying that, because I do care about people. I care about people so much, but I don't
overly care
about what they think about me in terms of
what you did,
what I'm doing. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, my wife was in the hospital at UCLA one time for 45 days. We were in the room, the door was shut, just kind of on our own, and one of her doctors opened the door, peeked his head in, and just said, "How do you guys do this?" And the answer so easily came out, and my wife says, "Because we believe God's got a purpose in this."
Yes.
And he shut the door. We never saw him again. And he says, he says, "I thought that." And he left. We never see the end of that. What an opportunity just to say what you're feeling or believing, even at a down moment. And sometimes that did something that must have encouraged him, because he goes, "I knew that." Shut the door and walked away. Never saw him again in the rest of our life.
Well, I hope our audience has got a nugget somewhere in this podcast.
Yeah.
Can I just say that our intentions in this podcast has been to show everybody, no matter where you're at in life, that you have opportunities to bring glory to God and help people.
Yes.
There's opportunities all around you. Sometimes you just have to listen to a podcast like this to become aware of some of those opportunities that you've missed for some reason.
And even if you mispronounce God's name, He still loves you.
Mm-hmm.
He still loves you. You may not call Him God, but He loves you.
Yeah.
And that's why we have love for each other, and for everybody that we come in contact with because of that. And so.
Yes. Well, that's a wrap, I think, don't you?
Yep. So we'll talk to you guys soon. shoot us an email, shoot us a message on Facebook. I know I'm on Facebook mostly these days.
Right in the YouTube comments.
YouTube comments. Let us know what you guys are thinking and suggest topics.
And again, we're still open to any comments or questions about health, diet, or anything. Again, we're not doctors, but we have a lot of experience here. And again, we would just like to hear from you.
Yeah.
Where are you located at? Maybe you're in London, England. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe you're in New York. Maybe you're at a farm in Kansas somewhere. Yeah. We just love to hear from you.
Absolutely.
And you can email me, I know, or send me a Facebook or whatever. And so all of us have some way that you can get a hold of us.
Yeah, and we actually read them and respond. So anyway, we love you guys. We'll talk
Yes,
to
love
you
you.
soon.
You'll find that little piece of you that you can call your own. You got your mama's sunshine, you got your daddy's rain. You're like a piece of heaven in a hurricane, and it's bubbling over like sweet champagne. You got your mama's sunshine, you got your daddy's rain.